Secrets. Let's face it, we live in a world of secrets. And I'm not just talking about national security, spies, and government. I'm talking about you. That's right, you. Your bank account code, your email password, secrets. Or, not to mention the fact you backed up your dad's car into a pole of the Piggly Wiggly, which reminds me of a girl I once knew. Secrets.
If you've got a soft spot for the surreptitious, you've come to the right place. Here at the Smithsonian, there's no shortage of mysteries to be solved, hidden messages to decipher, or truths to be laid bare.
Oh, hi. I'm Tom Cavanagh, and we are about to go undercover to discover the QT hush-hush down low. Top secret. Click. Smithsonian.
The act of hiding what you have, or what you mean, or who you are, is nothing new. For good reasons and bad, we've always found ways to share secrets and send veiled messages with the tools available to us. Through the centuries, our methods for preserving and communicating secrets have become more and more sophisticated.
I am holding in my hand a microfilm of very highly confidential, secret State Department documents.
Washington, D.C. is a city of secrets, where any information is likely to be classified. At least until it's leaked to the local newspaper.
Psst. Psst, over here. Come here. Hey, have you heard of the secret bunkers they give to top officials here in Washington? Well, this one's mine. Now, it might not look like much, but I got enough tang and deviled ham in there to last me 2 years.
Once a secret's cover's blown, it ends up in the Smithsonian collections. Here, you'll find everything from vintage spy cameras to the super stealth SR-71 spy plane. And wait, those dresses belong to J. Edgar Hoover? There are oh so many ways to hide a secret. One way is to keep it under wraps, or put it away under lock and key. But sometimes, just sometimes, the best of secrets can be out in plain view. I've come to the Hirshhorn, the Smithsonian's Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art, to meet with Director of Public Programs, Milena Kalinowska, and hear about the secretive nature of their collection.
Could you ever say that art is not secretive? Is there a piece of art that is just, well, it's simple, it's obvious, and there's nothing but what you behold in front of you? Would you?
I would even dare to say that unless art is secretive or poetical.
You're going to say it's not art.
That's right.
Oh, ha, ha. Is that right? Really, huh?
Well, that's how I feel.
You interpret it? Yeah,
and
absolutely.
even when I can read it, I think there are still enormous amount of secrets behind it. And it's what artist feels, what artist wants us to communicate. And of course, when we are looking at it, you are decoding what you see, and at the same time, you feel it. It's like music, it's like literature, it's like poetry.
So decoding art can be like decoding clouds. Each person can see or experience something unique.
I look at it and I see a swallow.
I look at it and I just see a long continuum filled with love.
But there's another sculpture here at the Hirshhorn that wants us to take decoding literally.
It's like something out of the Da Vinci Code. A mysterious message is hidden in a work of art, and the world's greatest minds race to decipher its meaning. But this isn't a work of fiction. It's a true story of an artist who created what might just be an unbreakable code.
It's called Antipodes. Made of copper and petrified wood, this sculpture features an assortment of carved letters, one side in English, the other in Russian.
Antipodes means polar opposites. North-south, east-west, Starsky Hutch, Smokey Bandit.
or the US and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. A similar version of the sculpture has been at CIA headquarters since 1990, and thousands of people, including some of the best cryptographers in the country, have been trying to crack the code. So just how did an artist create a code that remains unsolved right under the CIA's nose? Let's get some insider information from the artist himself, Jim Sanborn. You gotta help me.
Well, I'm doing my best to forget it.
Is that right?
The best way to keep a secret is to try to forget what the secret is. Okay, so I spent 15 years trying to forget what it says. I'll tell you maybe later.
Spoken like a sly code maker.
Great answer.
Over the last 15 years, most, but not all of this message has been cracked by code breakers.
They've only not gotten 97 characters, which is remarkable for me as far as keeping secrets.
You'd think Jim Sanborn was a trained cryptographer, but he's really an artist fascinated with secrets. For 30 years, Sanborn has been creating sculptures about language, technology, and the forces of nature. At the heart of his current work is the Manhattan Project, the secret mission to create the atomic bomb. By reproducing a 1930s-era particle accelerator, also known as an atom splitter, Sanborn forces us to confront the moment when scientists discovered how to decode the atom and harness its secret invisible power. Yet it's Sanborn's sculpture, Antipodes, with its unbreakable code, that remains a secret unto itself.
I get irrational letters and emails constantly about the decrypts for this.
Do you respond?
No. No, I have been accused of being in collusion with the devil to overcome Satan. I have been accused of being somehow predicting events of the War of 1812. There are all kinds of bizarre things I get in the mail.
Is the devil thing true?
I can't say.
Okay. The CIA KGB, under the cover of night high-stakes world of code making and code breaking, often involves complex mathematics and powerful algorithms. But the basic principles of encrypting a message can be rather simple. One classic method is called substitution, where you take one letter and swap it for another, the next letter in the alphabet, for example. So this message, Ipu Ufn Upin, really means, don't tell Tom. Over 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar used this encryption technique when sending secret communiques to his generals on the battlefield. And during World War II, the Nazis created very elaborate substitutions with their encryption machine, the Enigma, which took Allied forces several years to crack. Sanborn tried to employ some classic code-making tricks of the trade when encrypting his texts.
I begin one of the segments, something like, between subtle shading and the absence of light lies the nuance of illusion. And I also spelled illusion wrong. I spelled it occlusion. Now, in encoding, it's very nice to misspell stuff because it completely screws up the way you decode it.
But he also wanted the text itself to allude to other kinds of secrets.
I knew that I wanted to do something with mysterious stuff, secret stuff. And when I was a kid and growing up, my first love was archaeology. And I remembered that Howard Carter wrote a wonderful piece when he first discovered King Tut's tomb. It was something like, I opened the hole and peered in, and I see wonderful things. And I decided to lead off with that. Then I decided to do some art-related kinds of, jibber-jabber, and try to make it as convoluted as possible so that even when somebody did decode it, it would still retain some sort of mystery.
And now, which is the area, Jim, that is... Even after a decade and a half, there is still one portion of the secret message that is yet to be deciphered.
So this area here, these 97 characters, are what has not been decoded.
Are you an expert in mathematics and cryptology in the CIA?
All 4 years of high school, I was tutored every summer in mathematics, and still failed to get anything above a D.
Really? And yet, so what is the... where did this come from?
Popular culture, through the ages, spy versus spy.
To be a good spy, you don't just have to be well-versed in codes. You gotta be inconspicuous. You gotta blend in. I've watched all the movies. I can tail someone without blowing my cover.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Now you want to uncover some more secrets? Stick with me.
And you don't have to go far from the Smithsonian to see more examples of secret codes and cloak and dagger conspiracies. In fact, DC is filled with reminders. Spies are among us.
Just down the road at the Justice Department, there's Nathan Hale, America's first spy, who lost his life spying on the British during the Revolutionary War. And it was at this Chinese restaurant near the National Zoo where American and Russian diplomats met secretly in 1962 to broker a peaceful resolution to the Cuban Missile Crisis. In this city, you'll find secrets in unexpected places.
Like this mailbox. It became famous in the early 1990s as part of the case against Aldrich Ames.
Ames was a Soviet mole high up in the CIA. The guy who sold out many of America's best agents for cash from Moscow. He would communicate with his Russian handlers by making chalk marks on the side of mailboxes. Little did the residents of this quiet DC neighborhood know that their corner mailbox was the locus of such super-secret intrigue.
Now, Ames wasn't the first to use U.S. postal property as part of a top-secret mission, and he certainly won't be the last. Of all the clandestine agencies in the U.S. government, the CIA, the NSA, the Pentagon, the Department of Education, one that gets most often overlooked is the U.S. Postal Service.
The post office has always been about protecting our liberties by allowing the free and easy exchange of LL Bean catalogs. But over the years, our men and women in postal uniforms have also engaged in their fair share of secret missions.
Our confidential informant today is National Postal Museum curator Nancy Pope. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us. I don't often think of the mail as being top secret. Can it be?
Well, once in a while.
Really?
We have here an illustration of a wrapper that held something very wonderful that was sent to the Smithsonian.
The first clue she gives me is the name of the sender, Harry Winston. Okay, big-time jeweler, and that's all I got.
Well, it's a parcel.
Then you can see the
Another
rate for
clue.
the entire
It cost $145.29 to send it.
There's $2 for postage.
Yep.
The rest of it's for insurance.
Okay.
$1 million worth of insurance.
What? He
That's
said in a
okay.
very erudite fashion. What was in here? Drugs?
No, the Hope Diamond, actually.
The Hope Diamond?
The Hope Diamond, sent by registered mail from Harry Winston to the Smithsonian in 1958.
The Smithsonian happily accepted this dazzling 45.5-carat donation from the jeweler Harry Winston. In 1958, it was worth $1 million. Today, the diamond and its story are priceless.
So they shipped it through the mail.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
That's how Harry Winston shipped all his jewels, registered mail. It's the safest thing.
Well, you want to keep something like that secret, of course, right?
Well, they tried to, but the New York press actually had an article the day that this was being sent. Nice headline.
Are you
Hope,
kidding me?
Nope. Hope Diamond to be sent to the Smithsonian by registered mail.
If I'm like a small-time hood, I want to make a name for myself. This is the kind of heist I want to pull. But it got here.
Oh, the Postal Service wasn't that thrilled that the news got out.
I bet. I bet.
A stolen Hope Diamond would have certainly made the news, but this was the 1950s. There were other pressing concerns around the nation.
That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place. It's a bomb. Duck and cover.
It was the time of the Red Scare, of hydrogen bombs and Sputnik, and the United States was mobilized to meet the Russian threat. Our government had a few clandestine ideas about how to gain an edge in the Cold War, and one involved making Fidel Castro's beard fall out.
It's true. As part of Operation Mongoose, also true, in the early 60s, CIA agents considered using a toxic powder to make Castro's hair fall out. It was thought that a hairless Castro would have less appeal with the Cuban people. You don't believe me? Google it.
But when it comes to secret Cold War acts that look a bit bizarre in hindsight, check out this odd-looking box.
What is this exactly?
This is a mailbox. Doesn't it look like a mailbox?
You know what the giveaway is?
What?
But this is no ordinary mailbox. It did not carry mail by plane. It did not carry mail by train. No, Uncle Sam sent this one by missile.
The United States mail enters the missile era as the Navy makes the first successful postal delivery via guided missile. A pilotless pilot run that led one enthusiastic observer to predict that missile mail will be a reality even before man reaches the moon.
How secretive was this?
This was very secretive. Nobody had an idea this was going to happen.
Was it partially a little bit of posturing and bustle to show the Russians that, hey, we can send missiles anywhere we want? Fact is, we even deliver our mail by missile.
Exactly.
Was it?
Yes, exactly. It was very much what we can do is put mail in this thing and fire it off a submarine, and it can land wherever we want it to land.
The guided missile successfully landed at an airfield near Jacksonville, Florida. The Postmaster General, Arthur Summerfield, and other officials were present to retrieve the letters that were stored in the compartment normally intended for the nuclear warhead.
From the U.S. Great Ideas Department, the GID. What? The first official missile mail. Signature of the Postmaster General. And they could have also written, my money's on it also being the last official missile mail. Did anybody think that this was actually going to be a viable way of sending mail?
Well, the press release certainly seemed to indicate that Summerfield thought that.
Really?
The press release boasted that he thought we'd be sending mail from New York to L.A. by missile even before we have a rocket sent up to the moon.
Believe it or not, the secret mission of 1959 wasn't the first time someone had the idea of sending mail by projectile. In 1936, a rocket glider carrying mail was fired from New York. Its objective? To cross the state line into New Jersey. An experiment that got off the ground, but not for long. 20 years later, missile mail would finally get its moment in the spotlight.
So they shot it into the air, it landed, and then the people got their mail?
What happened was they opened the mail boxes back up at Florida, took the mail out, and just took it to a Jacksonville, Florida post office and put it back in the normal mail stream.
To me, the step of putting that mail, taking it to a submarine, taking the submarine out, and then shooting it from a submarine seems like a little bit of overkill, and not to mention a bit of a time waster.
Not to mention expensive.
And expensive. What the heck? Money, of course.
These held 3,000 letters, and they had 4-cent stamps on them. The price of firing a missile off of a submarine and guiding it to a landing in Florida, a little bit more than the cost of the stamps.
It was almost worth the photo op with Ike. Still, you'd hope the experiment paid off in other ways.
And what was the Russians' response to this?
Well, there was never a Russian missile mail. So I think we won the missile mail gap.
Sure. Or it's one of these. Igor, down here is Ilya. Americans are shooting missiles, but in missiles mail. Beat, beat, beat. And seriously, they're going to win Cold War? I can't believe it. I'm retiring to Gdansk.
Perhaps the impact of missile mail was so subtle it was practically secret. So much of history is accomplished undercover and out of view. And if you've got an eye for the enigmatic, you're on the way to becoming a top-notch secret agent. And if you've never engaged in a stealthy code red cloak and dagger infiltration of a federal building, this mission is for you. So quick, slip on your decoder ring, because we're about to crack some codes. Building codes, that is. We're not talking about safety codes and regulations. We're talking about a structure here on the National Mall that is not like the others. And I don't mean the Smithsonian Castle. No, it's the National Museum of the American Indian. A building bristling with secret codes, signs, and symbols, in plain sight, but impossible to interpret unless you're a Native American. Or you knew one. Here to help me decode the secrets of this building is Dwayne Blue Spruce, an architect with the museum.
Yeah, and here we are right in the heart of it, yes?
Yes, heart is a great word to use because we're standing in the Potomac space, which was always seen as sort of the heart of the museum. And here we are at the very center of the circle. And what we're standing near actually is from a local stone source, and it's actually the same stone that was used to build the Smithsonian Castle. So
Really?
this ties this building directly to the larger Smithsonian. On another level, it's also an abstraction. It's red color as an abstraction of fire, so this is almost like a hearth in the center of the building.
Ah, yes, a welcome area.
Yeah.
That's great.
So-
Well, let's see more.
This open space is called the Potomac, a word from local native languages meaning where the goods are brought in, or more broadly, a gathering place. The Potomac's soaring dome celebrates the sun, the center of the cosmos and the giver of life. To get a different perspective, Dwayne and I have come to a triple top secret off-limits confidential catwalk.
In Native culture, we often place ourselves in the universe by relating to not only the elements around us, but also the cosmos. And we wanted to convey some of that cosmology in the design of the building.
The center circle where we just met is divided into quadrants by lines that point to true north, south, east, and west. Part of the inspiration for this space came from the 10th to 12th century structures in New Mexico's Chaco Canyon. The Anasazi people carefully designed their structures to align with the movements of the sun and moon through the sky, which allowed them to time important agricultural and ceremonial events. The museum honors their legacy. These prisms set into the south wall of the Potomac space not only create beautiful bands of refracted light, they also serve as a kind of astronomical clock. At solar noon on the winter solstice, these patches of light will line up along the north-south axis on the floor, just a foot or two from where they are now. Once you know what to look for, you begin to notice the myriad ways Native peoples honor their universe.
What am I looking at here?
Okay, what we're looking at is...
Something circular.
Right, something circular, which is one of the themes of this building, a lot of curves and so on. But this is a ground floor plan of the building.
Virtually every aspect of the museum's design reflects Native values and a Native way of looking at the world, even the dramatic shape of the building itself. You can't help but notice the museum's unusual curvaceous form. Its stone contours and textures were inspired by native sites like the Incan city of Machu Picchu in Peru, the stepped pyramids of pre-Columbian Mexico, and the wind-blown canyons of the American Southwest. But emulating the forms found in the natural world was not so easy to pull off.
The inspiration behind that roof was the idea of places like Mesa Verde, where natural rock formation is above you and protecting you. And the cantilevered roof, it juts out some 75 feet above the entrance. And even though that's easily done in nature, right, there's a whole series of trusses which are holding up that cantilevered roof. Some of them are as deep as 6 or 7 feet.
It's the kind of thing that somebody would write in one line. And we'll also have a big cantilevered roof.
Right.
Juts out 75 feet. Next, and you're reading that and you're like, what? That's like in movie world, when somebody writes, they chase each other with cars through the street. One line.
Right.
That's like, you know, that's 16 days of shooting right there. You know what that is? Time and money.
Right.
Other Native ideas were more simple to honor. Like many traditional Native dwellings, the museum faces east to greet the morning sun. But this view toward the east has another meaning as well.
You know, given the complicated history between Native people and the U.S. government, this building being here and having this visual architectural dialogue with the Capitol is something I think that resonates with a lot of people when they come.
In other words, kind of a meeting of the two and a handshake, we can get along type of idea?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah. Yeah.
To create a truly Native place, the design team didn't stop at the building. Indigenous trees and plants were used to reintroduce the lush landscape that existed here before European contact. And these rocks anchoring the building's northern edge also have a story. They were blessed by Native peoples and transported from northern Canada during construction. Called grandfather rocks, they were placed here to symbolize the longevity of Native people on the earth.
These grandfather rocks are seen as elders of the landscape who are welcoming all visitors to the site.
So this is a perfect example of something where someone just be walking and they're like, oh, they got some nice rocks. And yet, hidden in this is all a symbol and respect to the Native American community, which does indeed, you know, value their elders. And here we have an example of that.
Although we've seen this building before, we can now better pick up on the cues that make this a truly Native place. This skylight hints at the smoke holes in some traditional Native dwellings. These curves recall the smoothness of rocks aged by wind and rain. And the woven pattern of this copper wall celebrates Native weaving traditions. Each curving line, every pattern, every symbol, taken together makes for a museum with a secret language all its own.
Native people seem to have a different experience in this building. I mean, a lot of things inherently they just kind of walk through the building and understand, whereas the average visitor might, you know, need some explanation or interpretation as far as what some of these symbols or architectural cues really mean.
Well, Dwayne, too late now. Secret's out. And now everyone knows, at the Smithsonian, you will find secrets of every ilk. Some have meaning that change with perspective. Some are hidden by codes. Others might simply be secretive one-hit wonders.
Look around you. There are secrets everywhere. So don't just sit there. Keep your eyes peeled. Grab your secret decoder ring and start exploring life's hidden mysteries. And there's no greater place to start than right here at the Smithsonian. Sector 4 clear. Happy hunting.
I love you.
I know.